On today's Into Your Head number 682, Milk vs. Orange according to Stanley Kubrick, Furniture Delivery Logistics, How Giraffes Get Served in Bars, Pilot Episodes, Apostles vs. Disciples, Dragon's Den vs. Shark Attack, and Christ knows what else more. We've a lot to get on with today. Items that need to be attended to, issues that need to be addressed, topics. Topics. We've got lots and lots of topics. We're positively booming to the seams with topics. We've got topics coming out of this mouth. This mouthful hole. It's nothing but a hole. It's a space between the top of my, the top of my mouth and the bottom of my mouth. My mouth itself is nothing. It's a vacuum. It might as well be that space where your man in Apollo 19. It's a 2001 and Apollo 19 space landing. She's not even really fictional. They show him floating out into space, and your man, the computer, still in charge of the spaceship. And he goes, this is from the same fella who wrote about the Clockwork Oranges. He says, one of these days, what did he say? Young teenagers are going to be all on drugs or going mad, and we're going to say to them now, you can either be locked up or you can taste our untested Clockwork Oranges, and we'll make you have a sup of some of these. Don't worry, we'll turn it into a smoothie or something so you can drink it. I tell you, it'll be a lot nicer than that milk that you drink, and they'll be easily convinced. And next we'll have them for life. We'll have them drugged up and ready to do whatever society wants them to do, which is exactly what young people are for. The whole purpose of young people in this society is to breed mini versions of ourselves, except better. That's why we say, people are built in the likeness of God. They can't be built in the, what's this say? Reminder, lunch this Friday, tuna nap, Joanny. That means to say that, I think what that means is to remind me that the tuna Napolitana that I'm making today is in part to serve as my wife's packed lunch for school tomorrow, as per her wishes, which is fine by me. It's fine by me. Saves me making any additional choices. All I have to do is to remember that I remember that, which I'm already doing with quite some success, because apparently I set a reminder to myself. I didn't know I was going to be in the middle of talking to you people on the internet when I set that reminder for this time, but nonetheless, no, I think it'll be fine, because I've already left out a tin of tuna and a lunchbox to remind me down in the kitchen, so when I go down to cook this for today, I think I'll be sufficiently reminded of all the plans that I made in the past. And what more could you? Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, the Clockwork Orange. When I was a child, one of my favourite foods in the entire world was the humble orange. Not your weird little mandarin oranges that you can tear apart with one fingernail into neat little shapes. No, I wanted a proper big orange where you bite into the skin and you spend 3 hours peeling off the skin, and then you spend another 3 hours if you're a bit of a puss peeling off the white stuff underneath. I used to just eat the white stuff underneath. I'd pick off a couple of bits of it maybe, just for appearances, but no, I'd eat pretty much the whole inner skin of the orange, and I'd eat the orange to death until it was dead and gone. And one thing I couldn't stand though, and that was blood oranges are for scum. If you're eating blood oranges or using them in cooking, as far as I'm concerned, you're banned from listening to my podcast from now until eternity. maybe, or until the next podcast, I suppose. There's been a few less podcasting I would have liked these last couple of weeks. Sorry about that. For being otherwise engaged, I still am. I'm squeezing this one in here now. I'm squeezing a podcast in here if I can. I don't know whether it'll fit. Will this fit? Remains to be seen. Will this fit? That's the problem furniture deliverers have every day. They go up to someone's door and say, "Hello, we have a bed here to deliver to you. Do you think it will fit up the stairs?" And they don't want to be rude, but they know that the person who answers the door is no expert on furniture moving. But they'll want to be positive and they'll say, be helpful, and they'll say, "Oh no, you'll have no problem getting that bed up the stairs, I guarantee you." And then the man will go out and consult with his cohorts, and they'll say, "We'll bring it round the back. We'll go round the back to the back road. If it means going to the next town to cross the river over there and then approaching it from across the field at the back of the house, it'll add an extra 10 miles to our journey, but at least we won't smash their stairs to bits with it, just because they tried to be helpful." No, we'll do that. That's what they usually do. They end up approaching the house from the back, like in one of those war scenes you'd see in the likes of one of those Monty Python films. You see an army approaching from miles away over a hill. Well, in this case, you see three men approaching with a semi-assembled bed in a flat pack coming over a hill, and then they'll get to your back gate and they'll say, "Will this fit through your back gate?" And of course no one will answer because they're still standing at the front door wondering where you go, and they'll say, "Those fuckers are probably gone off on a tea break already," because that's what they do. People are always going on tea breaks. They've never heard of bottled ready to drink energy drink, such as this one here, Dart Stimulation Drink from my local garage. Not the small one on the corner, the second one down. Which, if you don't mind me saying so, is going to hell lately. Well, they've modernised it. They've over-modernised it. It's turned into one of those crippy so-called convenience stores with convenience store prices. No specials. Not to worry. Where were we? Anyway, hello and welcome to the show. Now, I know what you're thinking there, and don't worry, I'm inclined to agree with you. Today's programme has got off to rather a low-key start. We're talking about what reminders I have to leave to myself regarding my duties as a domestic house husband. Well, that may not be important to you, but it's important to the show. If I don't perform my house husbandly duties on a reliable and satisfactory basis, then I don't get to spend the rest of my time doing this for you. It's what do you call it? It's horses for pear. What's the phrase? Pierces for apples for oranges. You know what I mean. It's a trade-off. I get to do this as long as I do my house husbandry properly and make myself useful in this society. I can't just come along and say, I'm going to spend my whole day making podcasts. No, you have to have a business plan whereby you spread out, you make it clear what you're going to be able to provide as a result of leading this lifestyle. And tell you what I provide here is that I never forget to make the tuna leftover tuna Napolitana and put it in a bowl and put it in the car tomorrow morning, as reliable as clockwork, to be used for wifey's lunch tomorrow. And tell you, if I ever get that wrong, I can tell you, you won't hear this podcast for a while. No, it'll all get shut down, just like your man Gordon Ramsay. She'll come along and say, shut it down, you'll have none more of this. This arrangement is no longer viable. High lunch wasn't there when I looked on the car seat this morning. Everybody's going to die now. We're all going to drop down. Like that poem they used to teach us in nursery school. They'd say, ring a posies, a pocket full of posies, a tissue, we all fall down, which I later found out was about a plague that hit London. They were teaching this to children, and the falling down bit signified dying of a deadly disease that was spreading, and that started with people sneezing, hence the tissue. See, that's the sort of crap you people who have children are teaching to your children. No, the worst damage I can do to the next generation at the moment is to trip over a cat, in which case I'll give them all the veterinary attention they need. I'll get the vet round here in no time if necessary. Thankfully it hasn't got to that, because I know how to manage living in the same world as a creature 20 times smaller to me. My house is the Fraggle Rock of the Western world, real world of humans. In Fraggle Rock, the Jim Henson thing in the 1980s, they had Fraggles, then they had much smaller creatures, and then they had much larger creatures as well, and they all lived together in harmony. You'd never see a Fraggle tripping over one of those little builder fellas in the hats, and you'd never see, although I think I did see one of the giants tripping over one of the Fraggles, but that was either intentional or somebody being evil. Wasn't a failure of systems a whole. No, I'm sure the giant considered it to be a failure of systems. If the giant in Fraggle Rock had his way, he'd have eaten them all, and then of course he'd have got food poisoning, which is why Mother Nature teaches us, don't eat them all, don't succumb to everything you want to eat. That's why bad mushrooms don't smell good. That's why, so that we don't eat them. Mother Nature has built this all. It's all built in. It's not like that thing that the youngsters watch nowadays. Pokemon, gonna catch them all. Isn't that the song? That's the main theme tune of it. Pokemon, gonna catch them all. Not going to let them fall. Gonna catch them. I don't know if they let them fall and then catch them and seize them. Is that considered catching them, or do you have to catch them as they fall? Because if I cause something to fall and then I pick it up, could I call that catching it? I don't think so. Certainly not in most ball games. If the ball drops on the ground and I go and grab it, I can't call that a catch. No, that's called picking it up off the ground. The same logics apply to the English language as they do to the rules of sport. I don't know about Pokemon because I've never watched it. It's not really from my generation. I suppose the older people of my generation may have grown up in it, but I certainly didn't. I remember it being on, and I remember avoiding it like the plague. I thought, oh Christ, this godforsaken hellhole is coming on now. If I remember rightly, it was on Sky 1 from 4 to 5. I only turned over to Sky 1 around 10 to 5 because I was waiting for different strokes, followed by the facts of life, followed by some other crap at 6, followed by maybe The Simpsons or something, I don't know. For a while there was some great entertainment on the television for people of my age, but then to my surprise the television didn't stop being entertaining, but I stopped being of that age. My age moved on. It was like when my age and the programming for my age were like strangers in the night passing each other on a boat, and one boat was going that way and the other boat was going the other way, and they couldn't just stop. And that happened in real life once to my mother and her friend. We were on a ferry crossing from Ireland to Liverpool on the east coast of England, and our ships passed. She was coming over from Liverpool, my mother's friend, and my mother was on our ship. I was asleep, I didn't witness it. I'm told my mother was able to wave over at her, and your one was able to wave back, and a great night was had by, that would have been the early 1980s, and it still goes down in history as one of the most exciting things ever to happen to my family. Christ, I hope it wasn't made up, because that would be a bit depressing. I don't think it was, though. I don't think it was. Although, part of that trip seems a bit made up to me. One of those ferry trips we used to make. I seem to remember my father buying a couple of bottles of beer and then a couple of bottles of Pepsi Cola and using those as mixers for the beer. I've a vague memory of him doing that and mixing them, but now that I think back on it as an adult, it doesn't sound right. So either maybe that's why my father died quite young. I don't know. Mixing Pepsi with, because if you mix Pepsi with, isn't there a thing where if you mix Coca-Cola with farts or something, it explodes? The scientists are always going on about. If you watch those people on the Mythbusters on the Discovery Channel, so maybe that's what caused my father to die of a heart condition about, what was it, 10 or 15 years after that. Suppose we'll never know now. We'll never know. Anyway, on with the show. Two giraffes walk into a bar. One of the giraffes goes straight up to the bar counter, but he can't think of anything to say, so he has a look through his list of lister topics, the most latest of which was kindly sent in by Jerry from Southern California, and the fourth item of which reads, a giraffe can clean its ears with its 21-inch tongue. So the giraffe goes straight up to the bar counter, assuming he hasn't already. In fact, he probably did, but he had to turn his neck back to look at the book, which would have been at waist level, so it probably looked like he was abandoning the counter for a moment. But either way, no, he sticks his head back up there, looks at the barman and says, hello, can I've, and then he forgets what he read, so he has to turn his neck back down and look at the book that's down at waist level, so the barman assumes he's left the bar, and then he looks back up and he says, oh, I've got it now, and the barman says, I'm very sorry, sir, you'll have to wait, I'm serving this gentleman at the moment. So he looks over at the other gentleman and he says, I was just leaning over to read this thing here down at waist level. I'm a giraffe, I've got a long neck. And the other customer says, I agree with you, you have some neck, all right, you have some neck, poking your head in here while I'm in the middle of ordering and claiming that because you were reading at some point that makes you better than me and you should be served first. Would you go away out of that with your crap? And the giraffe says, no, sir, I didn't mean it like that at all. You completely misunderstood me. And the other customer says, I didn't misunderstand anything at all. I'll tell you what I understand and what I don't understand. And if you don't like it, you can go out to some other place where they serve the likes of you and put up with your reading books. Why would a giraffe be reading a book anyway? You could barely fit a giraffe on a book. And the giraffe says, I happen to disagree. The owner of this podcast, in fact, had a joke book as a child called something like the Awful Joke Book or the Ha Ha Bonk Joke Book or something, that had a giraffe on the front that stretched around to the back. If you do it properly with these things and you do it clever, you can have a wraparound book cover and have the giraffe's head at the front and its tail at the back, and it works quite well, I think you'll find. And the other man says, well, I'm done now, so you can go ahead. And the giraffe says, oh, thank you very much. And the barman says, hello, sir, what can I do for you? And the giraffe says, I can clean my ears with my 21-inch long tongue, it says here. And the man behind the bar says, are you here to place an order, or are you one of these students out looking for a summer job? Because it's November. And the giraffe says, yes, but it's Australia. And the man behind the bar says, I suppose you have a point there, but I need to come back with you by pointing out that you're a giraffe. And the giraffe says, I'm not unaware of being a giraffe. And the man behind the bar says, well, I suppose self-awareness is a good a good property when it comes to a potential temporary employer. Have you got any references there? And the giraffe says, the elephant man can vouch for me. Ho, 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 there's a little joke for you. And the barman says, fair enough, I take it you don't want to be taken seriously then. And the giraffe says, I'm a giraffe, I'm rarely taken seriously, why should anything change now? And the barman says, well, you've just blown your one opportunity to be taken seriously, because I was up for a laugh. Although I suppose technically if I was doing it because I was up for a laugh, that means by definition that I'm not taking it seriously. But I was prepared to take it seriously for a while, just for the laugh, just to see what happened, which could have been to your benefit. And the giraffe says, well, thank you for your time anyway, sir. Can I have a pint of your finest Guinness, please? And the man behind the bar says, certainly, sir. You can have a pint of my finest Guinness. Let's see. I'm afraid somebody's already drunk it. Sorry about that, sir. Will I do you up a fresh one? And the giraffe says, yes, please. The man says, I'll draw you up a fresh bollocks if you don't get out of here right now. What kind of establishment do you think this is? Get your arse out of here. And the giraffe says, my arse is outside your front door, it's just my neck here. And the man says, well, in that case, get your arse inside my front door. I don't want people walking past my bar looking at a giant arse and thinking it's that kind of a place. Get your arse in here immediately. And the giraffe gets his arse in here immediately, and a foul stench fills the room. And the man says, Christ, what have you been eating? And the giraffe says, I haven't been eating anything. I was drinking a pint of milk here off the table here while you were talking. And the man says, well, what am I supposed to do with that? And the giraffe says, nothing, I've already consumed it. You could probably wash the glass if you can get it off my hoof. It seems to have become trapped in it. And the man behind the bar says, where are we going with this story? And the giraffe says, I don't know, it's been going on nearly 6 minutes now. I think that's more than enough, if you don't mind me saying so. And the man behind the bar says, I'm inclined to agree. In fact, I will agree. In fact, I agree right now. Let's not put this off another moment. Not only will I agree right now. Do you want me to sign somewhere? And the giraffe says, I don't think we have to sign to do that. I think the narrator just has to stop speaking at some point.
Remember, we value the opinions of you, the humble and ignorant listener. Email studio@intoyourhead.com.
Can you see me from where you're sitting? You probably can't. That means you need glasses. And what better way to get them than through the Into Your Head website, delivered straight from the Into Your Head website to your door, worldwide shipping, and the show makes a generous commission at no extra cost for you. Just go to intoyourhead.com, down the left, scroll along the prescription glasses, goggles for you ad, and browse for your prescription eyewear, your contact lenses, your glasses, your weird bifocals for freaks, and all the rest of it. And if you're one of the listeners who doesn't wear glasses, wear shoes instead, because we have a new shoes affiliate now on the website. Just go to intoyourhead.com, click on the shoes ad on the left, and browse a wide variety of shoes for men and women of all shapes and sizes and sorts. You can buy your shoes online through the Into Your Head website from a place in America. Free shipping, easy return policy, and all the rest of it. And if you don't want to shop through my generous advertisers, just leave a tip in the tip jar. Intoyourhead.com. Thank you for supporting the podcast, Jewel Art.
Into Your Head.
Monkey nuts. That's what they call them. They call them big steaming, shit-eating, piss-piling, pilot episode publishing. We should have a pilot episode of this podcast at some point, maybe, surely, for Christ. It's been going on for 682 episodes, and we've never had a pilot episode, although technically, if I remember rightly, I refer to the first 6 episodes, numbers 1 through 6, most of which are no longer available. I refer to those as pilot episodes, but then I made a 7th episode that was just as bad as the first 6. Well, maybe that meant I had 100% confidence in the quality of the first 6, which isn't true. Maybe I thought I was improving on it, but we improved on it eventually. I consider the first 400 episodes of this podcast to be pilot episodes. For one thing, what you putting one saying it's for one thing puts an awful lot of pressure on it. I'd rather it be for 12 things. That's what Jesus did. Jesus said, I'm going to put all my powers into one person. And then he said, no, people can be a bit crap and unreliable sometimes, so I'll spread it among 12 people. I'll have 12 disciples, and then I'll confuse Christian school kids the world over by sometimes calling them disciples and sometimes calling them the apostles. And every second day in a little school somewhere in the corner of Ireland, some kid would stand up and say, teacher, what's the difference between an apostle and a disciple? And the teacher would look down and say, read your Bible and you'll find out. And the kid would say, but this is a children's version of the Bible. It just has pictures of cats eating bread and the non-alcoholic wine. They're not even allowed to have a glass of milk with it because cats aren't allowed to have milk. Cats are what you call it, alcohologenic, or what's that thing where they can't drink that stuff that's in milk. Cats can't drink that stuff that's in milk, and as a result of that they can't drink milk. And the teacher will say, well done, but this is religion class. Half an hour a day we're supposed to devote to religion, and I know religion to you means cats, but to a lot of other people, although now that you mentioned it, a lot of the ancient beliefs in the likes of the Greeks would have giant cats running the skies and things, wouldn't they? They have the god cactus or something along those lines. I don't know much about that because I'm a Roman Catholic teacher, but I know there's been some of that. Maybe we'll deal with that in history, will we? But let's stick for now to the disciples and the apostles. Let's say there were 6 apostles and 6 disciples. Now, can anyone tell me which were which? And the class would all put their hands up, and the teacher would point at one of them, and one of them would say no, and then she'd point at another one, and he'd say no, and he'd point at another one, and he'd say no. And then she'd say, well done, children, it's time for your lunch break now. And everyone would go, yay! And they'd all run out into the schoolyard and eat our sandwiches, which was usually tuna Napolitana, but it was in a sandwich, and we had our tea, lukewarm tea in a plastic non-glass containing roughneck flask with a cartoon character on it. And that's how we were taught religion in school in the early days in Ireland. I think we'll wrap up today's programme by with a bit of a reading like they do in Mass. Back in the old days I used to go to Mass and they'd read stuff. The fellow would stand up, an animated member of the congregation would stand up at some point and say, here's a reading from the letter of St. Paul to the somethings, and then they'd have a little poem or something in between, and then another fellow would stand up and say, here's a letter from St. Corinthian back to the Pauls, and then they'd have another gap and stuff, prayer and stuff, and then the priest would stand up and say, well, here's some real stuff from the gospel that supersedes everything they just said, and I'll read it better than them too. Well, here's a reading from this morning's mail from the last few days. Let's see. Local property tax. Your guide to local property tax and how to pay and file. And that's from Revenue. Con agus Costain na Héireann. Translation, Irish Tax and Customs. And that came on Valentine's Day. Or it's dated Valentine's Day anyway. Isn't that lovely? Let's see what it says. How can I pay? You can opt to pay your... This is a depressing load of crap for not reading that. having a reading of the frigging prop. You see, that's where we went wrong. Those of us who tried to set up our own religions, we had the wrong reading materials. At least these religions, they write their own books and have proper stuff in it. They have stuff about death and tormention and AIDS, and then they have stuff about wine being magically turned into more wine, bread and fishes being turned into more bread and fishes. They have Jesus coming back from the grave, and barely fresh in his grave, and he digs himself up, and then he ascends to the sky, and he says, "Feck that being buried. I'm going to go up and live in the sky now." Surely to Christ there should be some happy medium. What about, for example, that thing where they burn you? Could he not have done that? He could have been cremated and being spread around the lovely sky, not send your whole fucking body up into the sky. That's a bit weird if you ask me, although maybe it was meant as a metaphor. A metaphor for what though? For still 2,000 years on trying to figure out what the metaphor was for, then I would suggest it was a non-effective metaphor, although maybe it was a metaphor for confusion, in which case, I don't know. Anyway, it makes you think, if you're going to set up a major religion, you should make sure you plan it well. Don't just come along with some namby-pamby, flimby-flamby magic tricks and then have your son killed and then have the rest of the eternity devoted to people trying to figure out what the hell you mean. Put them on, get out a list or something and say what you want to. If you're starting any business, you say how a business plan. You say, what do you want to achieve here? We want to achieve people being good to each other. We want to have an end to war. In fact, no beginning to war ever. We want at least 3% GPDP in the first 5 years, whatever that means. Then they go on Dragon's Den on BBC Two, and they make their proposals. And someone says, "Oh, and who's the business advisor here? Which of you two fellas are the businessman?" Well, I'm more of the Father, and I'm more of the Holy Ghost. And they'll say, "By holy, has anyone outside here seen Dragon's Den, by the way?" In Quebec it's been, in case you're wondering. Dragon's Den is the thing that translates over to America as, what's that other thing? You know, the business thing. The would-be business people go on and they pitch their ideas to a panel of investors. You know the thing. There's one called Dragon's Den Canada, and then there's an American one with another name that has nothing to do with dragons. Hold on. I have to look out the name of the freaking American version for you now. Oh, hold on. Dragon's Den America. Dragon's Den America, what's it called? Christ. It's called Shark Tank. It's called Shark Tank over there, because apparently dragons weren't real enough for you. You had to call them shark. Anyway, suffice to say, Suffice to say, I think that's about it for today. I filled up the half hour. That's enough. Have to go and do stuff now. We can't all be sitting around here looking up the American name for dragons. Shaggins. What's it called? Not Shaggins Den. Shark attack. No, shark something. Shark something anyway. Something sharks, whoever it is. Shark of Christ. I get it anyway. Rewind if you didn't hear it. If you don't hear it, suffice to say, this is the end of today's Into Your Head program.